Westwood One Podcast Network.
Never quit. Team Never Quit Radio.
You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life, hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutt Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. I'll tell you what, Marcus, it's becoming absolutely uncanny or coincidental or whatever kind of word is supposed to go for the description of this show today. Because it seems, now I don't know, I know people out there have heard 6 degrees of separation from that Kevin Bacon dude, right?
Great guy.
Which is a...
Footloose.
Oh, dude, such a good movie. Footloose!
Is it still the greatest movie ever made?
Did you dance like that in high school?
One of the Tremors is one of the greatest movies ever made, actually.
He was in Tremors?
1, 2, 3, up to I think 17
19.
Or 18.
Yeah, Tremors 19. Doesn't matter.
Tremors 19?
Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
There's got to be an Iron Eagle 20-something. Remember Iron Eagle?
He wasn't in Iron Eagle, though.
No,
that was
I mean,
Louis Gossett Jr.
I was going off of what Wizard started.
A franchise only matched in prestige by the Sharknado series.
Holy shit. Look at that. Where'd you come with that?
Hey,
but Kevin Bacon was not in Sharknado.
Somebody said that
and that's
during
why it's not on the level of Tremors.
During Florence, there was tornadoes in the water picking up sharks. Did y'all hear that?
Wait, what
happened?
Kevin Bacon was in North Carolina, and sharks were flying by him in
from
Florence?
Tornadoes.
From tornadoes.
And he footloosed it. Stop the storm. Isn't that Guardians of the Galaxy? Y'all seen that? All right. I was hoping I got that right.
You got it right, dude. Anyways, to go back on my point, it is becoming outright ridiculous that we have guests on this on a regular basis, on a regular frequency, that have somehow, some way, some connection to your good pal, Mark Wahlberg. And today, our guest has a connection, right? He was in Transformers 29.
Right.
Another mega series.
Mega franchise.
Mega. How big
successful.
Is it?
Billions.
Billions, right?
Yeah.
Like it's multiple billions.
Yeah.
What was the reason they canned the other dude who gets in all the trouble all the time? Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, why did they?
Why'd they can him?
Hail a douche.
Why? Come on, bro. Come on, dude. What was that?
I liked him. I thought,
he was pretty good.
Really?
I don't know. He was. Did I know something?
Yeah. What did he do? Do you know the story on that?
He was born. I don't like his face.
Oh God, Wizard, that's
man.
so harsh.
That coming from a guy who doesn't show his face on that. But something happened with Megan, though, right? And that why they switched? It started with
Megan
was
Fox
she's
and her. Yeah, but that was an easy can. She was easy to get rid of, I think.
Why?
I thought that was why everybody watched that.
That's the only reason I watched it.
I thought Megan did a fabulous job. Just saying.
Easy.
I was just saying.
So my point is, dude, when you have somebody that can be in the Transformers movie, as well as be a Navy SEAL, as well as come from the streets of the Bronx, as well as be an immigrant from Nigeria, man, you could take the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon and go throw it out the window, because this is the cat that I want to have on the show.
The Nigerian thing is most people say immigrated over or poor. Quite the opposite. That was the craziest part about it, is he came from upper class, and then they took it away from him. And about that time he came over, so he had to experience the streets. In the streets,
because he had no education in it. He had no nothing, man. I'm telling you what, dude. This dude, when you rank him up there amongst Never Quit stories, I mean, Remi is profound, bro. Man, profound.
Look at all the.
Oh, bro. When the wizard gives us these sheets and they're like 3 pages long, I know that they're serious, dude. Right? And by the way, thank you for giving us the
This is only a breakdown of a little bit of how many Never Quit stories he has.
Right?
They're all
it's
different.
Crazy. And I got a feeling we're going to only hear a few of them, man. We're going to have him back on here a couple of times.
Agreed.
I'm not sure where exactly his Never Quit story is going to go or what it's going to come from, but because there's so many different sources.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's endless, man. All you got to do is go to one of those videos of him. I mean, he was on Good Morning America, the Today Show with what's her name, Kathy Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, his stories were sick, dude.
Because it's got that team guy way of explaining it now, so it's
totally
good.
I love it. I love the fact that he was so badass that Michael Bay was like, "Hey, why don't we give you a role on this thing?" Right?
Yeah, that never happened to me.
I mean,
I don't think that ever happened to any of us, did it?
Dude, can I say it on it? Can I speak honestly to you now about your cameo, dude?
Well, that's what it was. I thought he got a role. Like, where I gave him some lines.
He got a full role.
Yeah.
You had lines, dude. You're the one who cleaned that.
Yeah, we were just shooting the breeze, though, and he filmed it.
Right. And you were like, now clean this up,
so we didn't have to get paid.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Get my SAG card or anything.
You didn't get shit, dude, did you?
It's had a good time,
Oh, God. That's awesome.
It was a good
All
time.
right. Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast. I'm your host, David Rutt Rutherford, with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell, and... Dun, 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 dun. The Wizard.
That is excellent. Thank you.
Dude,
I mean, coming to American music, though.
When we bring Remi on? Dude, that's a great
soundtrack.
Dude, that had a well.
Hey, the art, have him in the fur with the lion head.
Oh my God!
He would probably
standing
show up
around
here
a burning shitter in Iraq with a rifle,
with the
body armor over the top of a fur coat.
Oh my! In the hat,
and the lion. Man.
You know who my favorite in that movie was Arsenio Hall, when he plays he plays the preacher guy, right?
That barbershop was epic.
Oh, but when he introduces sexual chocolate.
Sexual chocolate.
And the barbershop guy when he's eating the barbecue.
He whipped Joe Lewis's ass.
Dude, that could be one of the greatest movies ever, dude.
It was on point.
We need to get both Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall on.
That'd be great.
Oh, my God.
Just because of how they got Charlie Murphy and the True Hollywood Stories from the Chappelle Show and what you would hear about Eddie Murphy, just that whole time, I would love to get them on and hear about it because they got us through deployment. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, my God. For humor-wise.
Humor-wise. Hilarious.
Absolutely. Well, if you're a first-time listener, then stand the hell by because we're about ready to light you up with one of our best shows. I guarantee it. Can I do that? Can I offer guarantees like that?
You can absolutely guarantee that.
Tell you what, I got plenty of time. I can take a dump in a box and put a guaranteed on it, but all you're getting is guaranteed piece of shit.
Wait a minute. I don't know how to take that quite.
From Tommy Boy. You don't remember that? It's like they're guaranteed because they like the guarantees. Like, tell you what, I got plenty of time on my hands to take a dump in a box, strap a guarantee on it, but all you get is a guaranteed piece of shit. He's like, what are you trying to tell me? I'm trying to tell you that.
I don't even know what to say next.
I remember that, but it was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
That's how he made his first sell. So
there you go. There's my guarantee coming to fruition right now. For all the new listeners, Thank you for joining us. For all the repeat offenders out there, God bless you. We love you. Because without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do day in and day out. And, bro, we are coming up. We're getting what? We're closing in on 7 million now.
7 million.
We are closing in on 7 million downloads, Marcus. Is that crazy or what?
Yeah, we can't thank y'all enough. It's unbelievable, truly.
That's massive, bro. And what's even
not
crazy,
listeners, right? It's a team we're building here. Everybody's connected by that whole, and man, that's amazing.
The greatest example of that, correct me if I'm wrong, Wizard, but is the fact that we have had so many listeners write in on our website on tnqpodcast.com to write in their greatest never quit stories. And how many pages do we have now? How many?
I don't even know. It's hundreds now. I mean, there are people from literally all walks of life. If you're dealing with something, you can probably go on there and find someone who has gone through it in the same way as you are right now.
That is what is the most important thing for me, Marcus. And that's
catalog.
That's the original idea you had when you came up with Team Never Quit, isn't it? That we could create a space that we could bring together people in their struggles, in their pain that we talk about all the time, and create a space and a place, a collective of people that all recognize that the never quit mindset is inside all of us. You just need a little bit of push to discover it, right?
Best way to start a team and a family, man. You strip away money and houses and cars and everything like that, and we started from when we were all in the ditch in the worst time of our life. And we can all relate to it in some form or fashion, and we started pushing from there, and that's how it's grown that way, and that's why it keeps growing.
Amen.
And then those listeners and everybody that comes on the show and not tells about their problem, but tells how they get through it. I learn more from them than, it's
every day.
Every day.
Well, what I love too is just, we're starting to see we had a really successful time in transition and moving through our 100th show. And now what we saw, we had this massive exponential growth through the help of Sean Ryan and us starting our own YouTube channel now. The videos are up there. So not only go check us out and all our shows on tnqpodcast.com, but now you can go to YouTube and type in Team Never Quit Podcast. We've got our own channel, and we're putting up video of our ugly mugs. I don't know whose idea that was. I think that was the Wizard.
And before the fall. Sweet. Great while it lasted. When they get peeked behind the curtain, that's when it's...
Now we're sliding downhill, right?
Where did it all go wrong?
We're going to actually have to do some footloose dances and shit to keep that going, I think. But no, it's crazy. Just in a few short weeks, Wizard was telling me we had over 3 million minutes watched and only a few videos.
They give you this metric on there that is just blew my mind when I saw only like a week and a half in, we were close to 3 million minutes had been watched, which is somewhere around like maybe 7 years or 8 years of minutes. And that just blew my mind. That people were,
and not much blows your mind either, I got to admit. Pretty much everything blows my mind. But for the Wizard, he's got to take a look at 6 years of YouTube videos watching You're in My Ugly Face.
Stunning.
So check us out on YouTube. Check us out on our website. And also, you can follow along. You can follow Marcus at Marcus Luttrell, me at Team Frog Logic. You can follow the Wizard at the Wizard. Just check him out there, which is still remarkable that you're still posting. You've actually been posting some shit too. I'm impressed, brother.
Every now and then, I'm seeing the glimmers in the value of it.
Come on,
glimmers
man.
of value, I should say.
Yeah,
I'm seeing glimmers of value.
You are a warrior against the negative insurgency, brother, and you've got to post out some positive stuff that's going to inspire people.
Man, you're the Wizard. You're the behind the curtain. You're supposed to be. I mean, we're on the run. They're out here with the Wicked Witch, man, on the road trying to get to Oz, brother. You need to throw out some wisdom.
Oh, we're
We're being selfish.
That was bizarre, dude. Listen, before we go down any more Yellow Brick Roads or rabbit holes or whatever the hell, could you please introduce Remi to our listeners?
Yes, Remi Adeleke. So former U.S. Navy SEAL, evangelist, actor, entrepreneur, speaker. His story really kind of starts in Nigeria. Him, his brother, his mother, and his father. Now, his father in 1987, I guess they were a very wealthy family over there. His father dies, not exactly sure how, but this leads to them losing all of their wealth. So his mother brings he and his brother to New York and starting over, right there. He grows up in the Bronx, which at the time, at least, that was a rough neighborhood to come up in. Something interesting is Michael Bay, the movie director, is involved in his story here. And the first time it comes up, he says that they would go to the movies once a month, apparently, and this had a big impact on him. He saw the movie Bad Boys with Will Smith.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Dude, you
Nobody knows the words to that song.
That's what I was waiting for you to get to, because that with Martin Lawrence is like,
so what you're saying is I'd be the Martin Lawrence guy. And you're Will Smith, is that
you definitely will.
No, you're the Will Smith. I'm the Martin Lawrence guy.
All right, fine.
All right, go. Sorry.
Did we sort that out?
No, you're right. Yeah. That's funny.
Go ahead.
Anyways, this fine film opened his eyes to the fact that he could be more than just a street thug. He said they were everyday guys trying to go out and save people. So this turned a light on in his head. And then he said he saw another one called The Rock, which is his first introduction to Navy SEAls.
Oh, dude.
It said that really planted a seed that later blossomed into what I became.
Let's give a moment of silence for how awesome he was in that. Dude, he was amazing. Did you have him as first phase instructor? Yeah. Oh, man. So there have only been, what? I think we're only in 50s African-American SEALs, right? There have not been a lot in the history of the teams. Right. And so was just this larger than life. I mean, he was huge, like short and like, spark plug. And he would come out and he'd be like, y'all think you're bad? You don't know what bad is. I'm going to be so bad on your fan. And it was like this.
Like a Mr. T character.
He was like Mr. T, dude. I swear to God. He was a Mr. T Frogman. He was a Mr. T Frogman. And he brought the pain. And the headband.
I'm sorry, Wizard.
God. Sorry, Wizard. We got to give props where props are due.
That's all right. So these movies had a huge impact on him. And coming from years of running the streets, stealing, hustling, fighting, selling drugs, in his words, he decided to make a change in his life. He needed to get out of this world, this environment, and he decides to join the military. He says, I gave up street life for 6 months, and then I joined the military. Even though he, at the time, did not know how to swim, and he had very low ASVAB scores, goes into the Navy. He's in the fleet for a while, and then in 2007, he graduates from BUD/S. He does a couple deployments there on the West Coast, and then in 2013, he decides to leave active duty because he is called by God to move on.
Praise the Lord.
There's a lot to that story right there, and his faith plays a huge role in his mission in life now and what is out there about him. So I think we're going to let him, get into that and talk to that point more. He has a book coming out in January called Transformed. And he currently lives in Southern California with his wife, and he's soon to have 3. He has 2. He's going to have 1 more son on the way.
Epic. What do you say?
That's it.
Dude, do you know the Transformers theme? Let's just make one up with Mark. We'll use in Mark's name. Ba, 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 ba. Wouldn't it be great to be pain-free? Feel like you used to feel. BioWave is the life-changing, non-opioid, effective way to block chronic and acute pain. In fact, 85% of people who use BioWave experience significant reduction in pain from just one 30-minute treatment. Proven effective over 15 years, used by more than 80 VAs, active military, SEAL teams, and most NFL, NBA, and MLB teams. BioWave is VVA, recognized, VA prescribed, FDA cleared, and made in America. If you're a veteran or active military or someone you love needs safe, non-opioid, and effective help managing pain, please go to biowave.com and learn how to get treatment at no cost. Visit biowave.com to read amazing testimonials from veterans and active military. BioWave is designed to block pain at the source and is like nothing you've ever tried before. biowave.com, smarter pain blocking technology. Marcus! 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 Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. It's been a little while since we've been out at the ranch, and I've been bottling this stuff up for months, brother. And I knew I wanted to start this session, this recording session. What session is it again, Wizard?
14.
Recording session 14. I wanted to go deep. I wanted to get someone on here that was walking the way, that was carrying that cross up high on their shoulder, and that could deliver something to our fans, to our listeners, that was so infinitely deep, that was borderline omnipotent, that I'm telling you will transform human lives. And he's here, dude.
Now, when you came in with, you're about a little over a month early with beast mode. You're way ahead. So I figured, you spun up. I can only imagine who was coming on first and right out of the deck, right? Yeah, one of our own.
Dude, we have to have. That's, I mean, it's a given, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I knew we were going that direction.
And the most incredible aspect about it, and as I've gone back and I watched all of his videos. I'm a bit, he works with a buddy of mine, Jeff Bramstead.
No, you can tell me a buddy of his, right?
Well,
can't be a buddy.
I didn't know you knew Bram, dude. Did you?
Everybody does. He's one of the guys in the teams where no one has anything bad to say about him. Never had like 3 dudes like that.
My bad. And the fact that Remi and he are connected in their path, plus Remi's out there, he is cutting path in a way that most other people can't do because they can't carry the burden, right? But he can. So, Marcus, Wizard, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, Mr. Remi Adeleke.
What's up, fellas? Good to be here. Dave, thanks for having me. Marcus, appreciate it. I'm ready to jump in.
Let's do this, man.
Awesome.
Thank you again for doing this. Seriously.
Awesome. Listen, I know, you're overseas right now, and so you've been working your butt off all day. So we're going to get you warmed up, right? We're going to get that prefrontal cortex all limbered up. We're going to get your mind going. We're going to get it racing. We're going to get you dialed.
Just in time for bed.
Just in time for bed. We're going to make it so you can't sleep at all tonight. All right. So, Remi, we're going to start the show off with this thing called a Mad Minute. Now, I'm sure you've done Mad Minutes downrange before. You've been involved in certain kind of high-stress Mad Minutes. But this one is a mind bender. This one's going to put your mind in a pretzel, I promise. So, are you ready for the most challenging questions you've ever been asked in your entire life?
100%. Always ready.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Marcus, fire away.
All right, but if all jobs paid the same, what would you be doing?
Ooh.
Right now?
I should have put a timeline on that, I guess.
That's a great question.
Be a frogman, dude. I mean, being a frogman was the greatest job I had. I mean, it was the greatest job. It transformed my life. It allowed me to do things that I never in my life thought I would ever be able to do. It was one of the greatest blessings outside of my kids. So it would always be a frogman.
That's
I never worried about money. I didn't really pay attention to it either. So it answers itself, really. If you think back in the jobs you always had growing up.
$32,000 a year after 8 years in the teams. Yeah. E5, Corbin, I made $32,000 a year, man. I didn't give a shit. That's why when I got out of the teams, I was $10,000 in debt.
Like, what do you mean I got to pay for dental?
All right, Wizard, second question, go.
Oh my, all right. Assuming a zombie apocalypse is inevitable, who are 3 people that you must have on your team and why?
It's Wizard and Dave. Boys, right now, let's get the guns and roll out.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, my question. If you could go back in time and fight for something, right? Fight for something you believe in most, what would it be and when?
Good question.
Thanks, buddy.
It would be 2007, and it would be the way I treated people.
Oh, bless your heart.
In 2006, 2007, I'm ready to hit my bottom, and I treated people like trash. I treated women like garbage. I was just a reckless guy. And so I would go back and fight to change the way I treated people, especially the ones closest to me, like my mom. I treated my mom like garbage, my brother. So that's what I would go back and fight for.
You know what? That's an awesome answer right there. I feel you too. When I was in the teams, I had a moral ambiguity that challenged me as well, and I know when I'm standing at the gates, I'm gonna have to atone for that time, and I spend a lot of time trying to make it up now myself.
Okay, so I got that one figured out. Whether we're standing down low at Hades or up top. Remember the joke with the instructors, like, hey, what happens on deployment stays on deployment. You never heard that joke, that team guys? Yeah. They let the team guys in there. So what we do, and that perspective, it's like we always talk about it, and never completely closed him out. Just step to the side a little bit. Don't look at me while I'm doing this.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly on that. It's just also some of the culture is what I'm saying. Not so much the operational. It was the culture, the mindset, and treating people, trying to be bigger than, the bravado of the team guy. I mean, there were many times.
It consumes you, man. It eats you up. That's why we can do what we do. And the more if you're not married, and the more you're into it, the more you are into it.
Exactly.
That's all I can say, because I was into it.
Yes, you were. All right, Wizard.
All right, you've got kids. So if you were the U.S. Secretary of Education, what's one topic that you'd add to school curriculum? What's one that you would throw out?
Ooh, good question.
Well, I would throw out a lot of the like trigonometry.
Okay.
Because we don't need trigonometry.
We'll throw out the math that we never use. I would keep, adding multiplication, that kind of stuff, because we need that for our banking. But and one thing I would add, I would add a course where the students, and this is just a dream, get to travel to places like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like Syria, like Africa, Nigeria, the place where I was born, so that they can actually see and learn through experience. Because as you guys know, we get so many kids in college who they have that college education, but they never had that life experience. Whereas guys like us, we've been to some of the dark places on the face of the planet. And we not only do we have the education, but we could speak to certain situations because we have a wide range of experiences. So I would create some type of class, some type of format where students are immersed in other cultures and not just learning it in a classroom, but immersed in some other way.
I love it.
That's a fantastic answer.
I love it. We need to get Secretary of Education on the phone right now, and let's make that happen.
Gain some perspective.
Right? All right.
Yeah.
All right. What was your pre-mission routine? What song did you listen to? What order did you put your kid on? Give me that pre-mission routine.
Yeah, so I would put on Lecrae. I got into gospel hip hop at the time, so earlier, and so I would put on Lecrae, listen to some of that, and then I would get my gear on, put on my obviously pants, socks, boots, get my kit, check my primary, check my secondary, and then I would kneel down with the Bible, go over a few scriptures. There was one scripture in particular in Psalms that I would go over that scripture. And then after that, I would, say a prayer and head out the door and, do what we do.
Amen. Amen, dude. That's awesome. It was funny when my only combat trip with the teams, man, there were two guys in my platoon, this guy Monty and this guy JC, and they would get in that Bible and they would read it, man, and every time I'd look and I'd be like, man, that seems like the coolest way to go put it all on the line, knowing that the Lord's in your heart that fully, and that's something I regretted not having sooner in my career.
Well, I did the same thing. I would rewrite the Boondock Saints prayer, and so at the end of the brief, I'd pull those out, and then I'd put that team guy spin on it, right, linking it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody's remember when that guy got from Team 3, he was sitting in medical that time, and I walked in right before and kind of looked at him. I was like, hey, brother, what's going on? And man, I never get a look on his face. This is right before we were heading over. I was like, hey, you got any? I'm taking my platoon over there. You got any advice? I'm ripping you guys out. He just looked over at me and said, pray.
That's heavy.
That's all he said.
That's heavy.
It was hell, man.
From day one.
That was hell.
That's wild. And so you guys as platoons, you did a conscious prayer together every time?
Everybody stood up, man. It was that warrior. Like I said, I put the spin on it, and there are no atheists in a foxhole. You know that.
Yeah.
But we had more deep conversations after one of them kind of draggers. You know what I'm talking about?
Than anything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we did our platoon. When I was out Team 3, we did the whole platoon would come out. It wasn't anything forced. It was just like the guys that want to come together, and we get in a circle. And I was a lay leader, so I would lead the prayer. So it was pretty cool.
Had you ever done anything like that before in your life, where you were the focal point of the prayer?
No, not at all. I think my platoon chief, he knew I was, he would see me reading the Bible, see me praying during workup and stuff. So he said, hey, Remi, how about you lead it? I see you doing this all the time on your own. So that's kind of how I got into it.
That's cool.
And all the stories of military history, the TV shows you watch, there's always the one guy in the platoon. We don't go anywhere without one of them. Everybody talk as tough as you want, but then they're like, all right, where's the faith? All right, bro, get over here and start spreading the good word.
Well, for me, it was always like, anyways, we're going down a rabbit hole. We'll get into that in a little bit. Marcus, why don't you hit Remi with the last question on the Mad Minute?
All right, brother, if you could call yourself in 30 years, what would be the one question you ask yourself?
I would ask, did any of my sons, because I have 2 sons now and a third on the way, did any of them become a frogman?
Oh, you got 3 of them. That's that 3 number. You're gonna have one of them. Probably that middle child, right?
She just found out she was pregnant with our 3rd boy, and I was like, one of them's got to be a team guy.
You're going to have a team guy, a preacher, and a NASA engineer, right? That's what
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, Remi.
Thank you. I beat the frogman.
You did. I got hit. I have a daughter.
Yeah. I got 2.
How you duck that? Especially being a combat frog, man. All got daughters.
Yep. All right, Wizard. What was that? Was that the Mad? I got 11 minutes.
That was 11 minutes and 13 seconds.
That was the Mad 11 minute and 13 seconds. All right, awesome answers. But as we chatted a little bit before we came on, the reason why the 3 of us wanted to do this show is because with all of our travels and all the different places we've been and, all the different audiences we've been front of, we've come to realize there's a need. There's a need out there, and people are desperate for some information that's going to change their lives. There's information that's going to create that spark, right? To ignite the fire in their guts. That's why people come here to the Team Never Quit podcast. So Remi, without further ado, would you please share your greatest never quit story or stories with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one I would share, it has to do with me getting out of the Bronx. And this might be a bit contradictory because this has to do with quitting, but I think quitting in a good way. Growing up without a father, I tried to find a father in so many things, in culture, in music, in the streets, in the people I hung out around. And by the time I was in my teen years, I became everything that I watched. I became everything that I heard. And It was so immersed with me that I couldn't see anything else. I never thought that I would make it out of the Bronx. Like literally, it was like, and a lot of kids that come from where I come from, getting out is unrealistic. It's like a far-fetched dream. And so I didn't see that for myself. I didn't see success for myself. I didn't see the military for myself. As a matter of fact, I hated the military because I hated anybody in a uniform. I just couldn't see it. And then one day I got involved in a deal with a drug dealer that went really, really bad. I ended up owing him a large amount of money. And he came to my house and essentially, not my house, he came to my mom's apartment where I lived and essentially threatened me in my mom's apartment and said, if you don't have my money by this time, things are not going to go too well for you. Knowing him and his background and knowing the area that I was in, I knew that meant that he was going to kill me. And that was just the reality of it if I didn't have his money. And so, I didn't quit. I went out into the streets. I made him the money that I needed to make him in a day. And then after that, I made a decision. I'm going to quit this life. I made a decision that, you know what, Remi, if you keep down this path, things are not going to go too well for you. I mean, you're going to either end up dead or in prison. And you got to understand, for a person with the mentality that I had, quitting that life was hard. It was hard to give that up because that's all I ever knew from the time I was like, 7, 8, 9 and started searching for a father. So for 6 months, I did the best that I could do. And I pretty much stayed home for 6 months and did absolutely nothing. And then June of 2002 came, and long story short, I was laying in my bed and I heard this voice tell me, you need to get out of here. You need to get out of New York. And I'm thinking to myself, how the hell am I going to get out of New York?
Right.
How am I going to get to Bronx? And that voice said to me, the military. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was just like, the military, one, I like my clothes baggy. I like my hats backwards. I still wear them backwards. And I don't like authority at all. So I can't do that. But after a while of sitting in my room, I looked around in the room and I said to myself, what else do you have left? You have nothing else left. You've tried everything else on your own and nothing has worked. And so I got out of my bed and I ran down the street that I grew up on, which was Fordham Road. And it was in that moment I made the decision that I was going to leave this life. I was going to firmly, 6 months early, I made the decision to give it up. But I knew that by me joining the military, that was going to really push me out of the environment that I was in. And so anyway, I ran down the street, went to the recruiter's office. And thank God I ran into recruiter I ran into because she ran my background and found out I had 2 warrants out for my arrest. I had a warrant in New York and I had a warrant in New Jersey. And in that moment when she ran my background and told me what I had, I was just like, oh my God, like join the military now, go to jail. And so anyway, she advocated on my behalf, took me to the judges and did some work on her end to kind of, fudge the paperwork so I can get in. But I would say that's my greatest never quit story is actually it involved quitting. It involved making the decision to quit, bumping my head over and over again. And I think sometimes that's the hardest thing for people is to get out of that routine, break out of that mold because they feel like there is no way, there is no hope. In reality, there always is a way. The issue is that sometimes we just don't want to see that way. And I didn't want to see that way out. But I think, but if I didn't take that way out, I wouldn't be here with you guys. There would be no teams. My wife wouldn't even be in my life. My kids, I want to have. So I don't know if that made sense, but my great.
Look at like, man, you can't look at it like that's quitting that part, because at that age we transition to our different life anyways. We're growing into a different part, growing into a man, and when you max out that part of it,
Yeah.
Most people go through school, like high school, that's when you know you're supposed to bail out. College, boom, that's when you know you're supposed to bail out. But if you're not in that world and you're in the world on the streets where you're learning your street smarts and getting your education like that, it's not a degree or a piece of paper that tells you, well, it can be a piece of paper, like a warrant. I had one of them too. That was a good time. So, when you max out in that area, when everything starts getting repetitive in a bad way in our world, right? So then you have to just bounce out and go. So you didn't quit, man. You just graduated.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at, and when I did my 18 Delta rotations, we did it in New York City, and I spent a lot of time in the Bronx, and I became privy to a lot of the statistics for inner city African American youth, and once you get one indictment under 18. The probability of doing hard time is almost 85 to 95%. You're going to do hard time. Mm-hmm. So with that type of behavioralism that had been ingrained, with that type of struggle that you were so preconditioned for, you talk about the recognition of, I knew I needed to quit. Well, where was that coming from? Was it the repetition of your mom going, your life's gonna end? Was it a friend? Was it what? Where was the influence that started the belief process that you like? I think I can do this. What was it that was the igniter?
It was my mom. It was my mom, hands down. My mom is a beast.
By the way, she does the best push-ups out of anybody on the internet, hands down. I love your mom on the internet.
Yeah, she's 66. She when my father died, so my father was a millionaire, and we were very wealthy in Africa before he died. And when he died, well, right before he died, the Nigerian government stripped our family of everything.
Wow.
And so we went from rich to poor within days, and my dad died right in the middle of that transition within days. My mom, she could have quit. She could have tried to find another guy to marry up really quick in order to figure out a way to feed two boys. But she decided, I am going to make a way where there is no way. And she really modeled for me every single day of her life, perseverance and resilience. And one thing that my mom would always tell my brother and I is, you guys, do you know where you guys come from? Do you know who your father was? Do you know what your name means? Adeleke, my last name is Yoruba. It means the crown is above. Wow. She said, you come from royalty within Nigeria. So you cannot be running around these streets like a bunch of fools. When I would make mistakes or get caught up in the things I got caught up in, she would get in my face and she would remind me. And so that's kind of, after hearing it from her, I had two voices, and I talk about this in my book. I talk about the war that took place between my mother and what was my adopted father, in a sense, who I chose to be my father. And my mother's voice was always there. The streets, all that other stuff, that was there too. And so when I finally came to that point, it was my mom's voice that prevailed, essentially.
Wow. The angel. Now, and that was my second part that I wanted to talk about. Can you describe that voice you heard? Can you describe the tone, the intensity, the verbiage that you heard in your head that was powerful enough? Because feeling connected when you've lost a parent, when you especially a father figure and you're on the street, that connection is essential for our development as men. And what did that voice, how heavy was it for it to get you to change completely?
When it came to joining the military, No, it wasn't intense at all. It was a small, still voice. At that time, I thought it was my subconscious. It was that small and that still. But in retrospect, I truly believe that it was a voice of God. But it was a small, still. It wasn't overly persuasive. It wasn't like this overwhelming voice that was like, you need to do it. It was just all still voice, and that's what essentially kind of began to plant that seed within me to get out. But it wasn't overbearing in any way.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So it's funny how sometimes, right, Marcus, it's those smallest, littlest things that become the most profound.
Right. And also the interference, just life noise, right? Depending on the world. Especially if you're in the wrong one or finishing up another, it doesn't come in like that. Right, that's why we got willpower. Yeah. You got to have the will to look in a different direction and shift your focus. So it makes you a good team guy, right? We're all that same way. Like, all of a sudden, he's like, it could be screaming right here, right in front of your face. And he's just like, oh, here's that. All of a sudden, you got to get smacked by like, okay, I'm going.
I got it. Check, Roger.
And then when you meet all your boys and you see it's when you're going to get around each other and you understand, you're like, yeah, I made the right choice.
For sure. Can you talk about that next never quit moment? Because you'd said you had a few.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my next one, I kind of talk about this in my book, but when I was in static line jump school, on my second jump, I jumped out. I was the second guy in my stick, and I felt for some reason I was heavier than the first guy who was out, and so I fell past the first guy. So, but I didn't know that because you know how you jump out and just parachutes everywhere. And when I got probably about 500 feet off the ground, the DZO commander, we all had on Motorola radios, he started saying, you know, number 2 guy turned into the wind, number 2 guy turned into the wind. And I was already in the wind, so I didn't know who he was talking to. I'm thinking like, I'm number 2 guy.
I'm already in the wind. I'm already pulled over, sir. We can't pull over any further.
I'm already in the wind. And so I was like, I'm not going to pay him any mind. So as I got closer to the ground, he started screaming frantically into the radio, number 2 guy, you need to turn into the wind now. And I was like, maybe he knows something I don't know. This is my second jump. I later found out again that he was actually talking to the number 1 guy who had become the number 2 guy from his perspective. And I was now the number 1 guy. So, you know, it being my second jump and you know, having this mindset of this guy knows better than I do, I start pulling down on that toggle.
Ripping that rider.
And as I start pulling, the parachute starts turning, and the winds got so high that this ended up being the last jump of the day. The winds were so high. And so I turned, and as soon as I turned, the wind my back I was not in the wind now. The wind was at my back now, and my speed picks up rapidly, and I get a huge gust of wind, and I'm not burning into the point of death, but I'm coming in really, really hot. And I said to myself, I know I'm not going to die, but I'm going to break something. And as soon as I hit the ground, I heard my right ankle snap, crackle, and literally pop. It was a massive.
Man.
And being a corpsman, I knew it was broken. I knew I broke something. And I got up and I started, you know, limping towards the check-in station. And as I limped there, I was just like, dude, I need to do these last 2 jumps, because who's to say that I heal up and then, you know, end up coming back to static line and breaking it on the second jump again.
Right.
And so I stopped limping and I started walking, but every step I felt the bones slip and shift and so I get into the check-in station and the medic, she wasn't a corpsman, she was like a contractor, and she's wrong my left ankle. That was my right ankle that had exploded, but I told her I think I sprained my left ankle. So she says to me, all right, well, take your left boot off. So I take my left boot off, and I was like, if she's a good medic, she's going to tell me to take off my right. If she's a bad medic, she's just going to have me keep my left off and not compare. So I just take off my left boot, and she's like, oh, yeah, I see there's some minimal swelling, but you're good to go to keep jumping. And I'm like, yes, I get to do these last jumps. So anyway, I jump on a bus. I tell the guys in my class, I'm like, hey, guys, listen, I broke my freaking ankle. It's done. I need you guys to help me hide this thing so I can finish my last 2 jumps. And I thought that we were going to have our third jump that day. But anyway, we get in the bus and we get back to the staging place. And as soon as we get there, the instructors say, "Hey, the winds are way too high. You guys are not jumping for the rest of the day." I was like, "Damn it! The next 24 hours are going to suck." So anyway, I go back to my house and go crawl around and get up the next morning. And when I get back, they have the boxes set up to do PLFs. Practice.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
And so I climb up. My classmates tried to hire me, team guys, and like, let's hire Remi. But that didn't work because I was the only black guy in my class, right? Not anywhere. So I get up to the PLF box and I jump off, and the pain was excruciating. The bone slipped and moved all over the place, and the instructors were like, "Hey, you didn't land on both feet. Do it again." These guys had me do it about 5 times until the medic runs up and she's like, "He sprained his left ankle. Why are you guys having him jump? No, he's good. Just let him do the jumps. Don't have him do the PLF." So I was like, "Where were you the last freaking 10 minutes?"
Exactly.
But anyway, I pushed through. I did my third jump, PLF'd on my ankle, smashed it up even more, and then I did my fourth jump. And right before I did my fourth jump, I remember I was in a plane and I was going up, and I had my head down because I was super depressed. I was just like, "This is gonna suck. I'm gonna get pulled out of class. There's so many good dudes in this class. My ankle's a mess. Like, I'm not going to graduate on time." And I'm just falling into depression. And I remember there was a team guy in front of me, and great dude. And he slaps my helmet. And he says, "Remi, get your freaking head up." He was like, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself. I know your ankle's broken. Everybody else knows that your ankle's broken. But dude, you're a frog man. We're frogmen. This is what we do. We do the hard jobs that no one wants to do. We do the jobs that suck. Even when we have an injury or even when we're going through something, we still do it. So you need to man up and jump out of that plane like the frogman that you are." And when he said that to me, like, I just felt this boost of motivation just zap through my entire body. And I was like, "Yeah, dude, you're freaking right." And I did that last jump, and and when I hit the ground, I limped this time. And I remember the DZO commander came, driving up. He was on a 4x4, and he drove up to me. He's like, "Why aren't you running?" Because you're supposed to run to check.
Yeah,
I said,
right.
Because I broke. I was like, "I broke my effing ankle. Now take me to the effing hospital." I got my certificate and I graduated, and I never did a static line ground jump ever again.
Oh, God bless you for that.
So that's probably one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
one of the interesting things that we all have those stories of the various aspects of pain in our life, right? And we go through these pivotal moments where we're tested, and whether or not we can endure the pain of a broken ankle, whether or not we can endure the mental pain of changing and letting go of a particular negative aspect of our culture. What I'm interested in understanding is, you talked about in the Mad Minute, you talked about that sense of spiritual awakening, that spiritual pain. If I could go back in time in 2007 and 2006, and I could talk myself and fight for what was right spiritually. Can you walk us through that and that recognition that needs to happen in order for you to become the man you ultimately want to become the father, to become the influencer, to have the impact? You quote a comment from Paul a lot, and a lot of the things I see about you on the internet. Walk us through that evolution, through that desire to go back and right those wrongs.
So it was a combination of things. One, in 2006, as I said, I was very reckless. I was just all over the place. It was one thing in my life, when I look back on my life, when things start to go well for me, that's when I began to make dumb decisions. And I was 2006, 2007, I was getting ready to graduate Buds, and I was at the top. I was at the top. I was full of pride. I was just like, I came from went from Africa to the Bronx. I made it through the Bronx, and now I'm about to become a Navy SEAL. It's like no one can't tell me anything.
Pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things. Like, what can anybody tell me?
Great journey.
And so I got involved in a relationship with a girl, and she was amazing. I mean, she was amazing, and despite the way she was, I treated her like garbage, and emotionally abused her, verbally abused her, and when I broke, as a matter of fact, when I broke my ankle, for like 4 months, about 3.5 months, I couldn't walk, and she would come to my house, cook my food, clean my house. I mean, she would do all kinds of things for me. And while she was serving me the way she was, I still emotionally abused her, verbally abused her. I was so angry that I was just like putting all of my anger and frustration out on her. And she would still show up every single day. And in retrospect, when I look back on it, I truly believe that what was happening was God was showing his love for me despite the way I treated him through this girl, because this girl was loving me and I was just pushing her aside and abusing her. And then, when I was finally able to walk again, I made the decision I was going to leave her. I was just like, you know what? I'm a frog man. Like, I don't want to be tied down to anybody. I want to be down in Gaslamp with the girls. Like, and I remember when I broke up with her, I remember she fell on the floor of my apartment and she just started crying. She was just like, how could you do this to me? I've given up. Her parents didn't want to have anything to do with me. And she was like, my parents didn't want me to have anything to do with you. And I've given them up, and I've given up all of these things for you, and you're doing this to me now. And I just remember I said, when are you going to leave? Get off the floor and get out of my apartment.
Wow.
And she left the apartment. And a few weeks later, I was just like, man, like I need to essentially give her another shot. I need to, she was so good to me. And I did, and we got back into a relationship, but I was still the same person after about 2 weeks. And then I got sent to Kodiak, Alaska for cold weather training.
Awesome.
And when I was in Kodiak, Alaska, when I was out in Kodiak, Alaska, I was in this wilderness, and it was, as you guys know, I had to do the land navigation hikes, and around because we were all spread out. It was 9 guys in class, and we were all spread out at these different points. So I was literally on my own for a day, for a day, 2 days, depending on what the land nav drill was. And I just remember it was like somebody held up a mirror. That's the best way I can explain it. It was as though, as I was walking through nature, I was able to truly reflect on my life.
Wow.
And I truly believe that it was supernatural. I truly believe that God had put me in that place to hold up a proverbial mirror. And as I began to walk through and reflect on my life, I began to see how I treated my mom. I began to see how I treated my brother. I began to see how I treated this girl. And I didn't get physically sick, but I got spiritually sick. I got so sick that I said to myself, as I was doing these land navigation hikes, how could I have treated people the way I've treated them? How can I have done that to this girl? How can I do this to my brother? My brother who I fought side by side with in the Bronx when we were getting jumped. My brother who my mom was split food with between me and him because she didn't have enough food to feed herself. How can I treat these people? Like, it was like I got disgusted with what I saw. And I remember after I got out of the wilderness and we came back to that, I can't remember the name of the building where we were living in Kodiak, but I just made a decision. I said, when I get back home, I'm going to marry this girl. I'm going to apologize to every single person, and I'm going to fix my life.
Wow.
And 2 weeks after I had this epiphany, and my girlfriend doesn't know what's going on, she goes to this party. And when she's at this party, she meets this woman who's married to a teen guy. And this woman says to her, I hear that you're dating a guy who's in the teens. And she was like, yeah. And the woman said, You're such a good girl. You don't need to be with a guy like him if you're not happy right now.
Wow.
You need to, because they're gone all. I mean, she gives her the whole spill.
Hold up, huh?
Yeah.
And for the first time in like 2 years, this girl, she finally had the strength to leave me. So that's what it took for her to leave me. But I didn't know this was going on. I'm over in Alaska, like, I'm gonna change. So I remember I call her up. I get a day because we don't have cell phones out there, and I got a day to get on the landline, and I called her up, and she answered the phone. I said, hey, don't say nothing. listen, I realize I've been a dirtbag to you. When I get back, I'm going to propose. Like, I'm telling her my whole plans. And she's dead silent on the phone.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what's the deal? Like I thought we were going to. And she was just like, I'm done with you. It's over. I'm leaving. And when she said that, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. And after we got off the phone, I started trying even harder to fix myself. And the more I tried after I got off of that call, it was like the worse I got, the more angry I got, the more frustrated I got. And my brother was a Christian for a long period of time. And he told me years earlier, because I used to make fun of him for being a Christian. He said, Remi, when you hit rock bottom, just remember, just cry out to Jesus. When you've tried everything else and nothing's worked, just remember, cry out to Jesus. And I made fun of him for it. But in that midst of trying to fix myself, nothing working, and all of the other things that were going on, and the guilt that I felt for the way I treated people in my life, I cried out to Jesus. And that was when I really began to see change in my life. And that's when I really began to come into this different person. So that essentially, I know I get through a lot at you guys, but that was the way it happened. And the crazy thing about that story is that wife of the team guy, her husband, like a year later, ended up becoming my platoon chief. And it wasn't planned. Like, it wasn't planned. Connections of all the dots and all of these, like, it wasn't planned. It was just like this random thing. So yeah.
Wow.
Remi, maybe it's the case, or if it's not, I read something you were talking about how in that experience you had up there in Kodiak, how part of that was you realized that the father that you had yearned to have, that paternal influence that you were seeking for most of your entire life, you realized that God filled that role for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you say a little more about that, or why, how important that paternal role was, and why you were always trying to fill that, and then how it finally was satisfied? What was different about this discovery?
Yeah, I truly believe that every child needs a mother and needs a father. Every needs a man to teach him how to be a man, and every girl needs a by man. And as I said, I didn't have that, so I searched for it. But when I finally, what was different when I came to God was I had the Bible in a sense to guide me, as from certain scriptures that guided me in biblical manhood. That helped me tremendously. Prayer, just feeling the presence of my Heavenly Father. And hearing that voice even more clearly and knowing what it was when I was going right, and that voice said, no, I want you to go left. Having that example in Jesus, being able to read the Gospels and see how Jesus was as a man, because Jesus was a man's man. He was a hard dude. When you look at the temple story and the way he was, and this is what I talk about when I go to the Life of Valor conference with Jeff. I talk about the manhood of Jesus. On how he was a rough dude. He was a knuckle dragger. The way media and even Christians portray Jesus, sometimes they portray him as this weak, androgynous, timid, floating on a cloud, and that's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Knuckle draggers. He went to the temple and he chased. When you read the temple story, you'll notice that it says that Jesus by himself chased out more than 30 men out of the temple. Nobody helped him. So when I begin to see Jesus and how he lived as a man, that's what began to fill my void, that paternal void, because I was now able to have an example that I could connect with. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, you absolutely did. It's that, sounds like it was the guidance and the role model that you really were lacking, someone to look to for that.
Absolutely.
I want to just continue on with that, because that's a great vision for people to imagine, right? Is these transitions that happen to us. But yet, once the transitions begin, we still need the instructors, right? We still need the influences, much less you came off the streets and you went into SEAL training. We had those instructors. Same for me. I know Marcus talks about it similarly. But can you tell us who were the instructors now that you were going to be a warrior for Christ? Who were those people that came into your life to show you how to wage war from a spiritual perspective?
Oh, there's a lot of people. Jeff Bramstead is one. He's been pivotal in my life. as a father, as a husband, the opportunities he's given me to speak on, to share the gospel on massive platforms has helped me too. But he's been a huge instrument in my life. He was a team guy, retired senior chief. I think he did 23, 24 years. He mentored me while we were deployed, and as a matter of fact, he discipled me and taught me what the scriptures were. And to this day, I speak to him all the time. He's always teaching me. Hey, are you loving your wife? How are you with your kids? I mean, he's always holding me accountable and teaching me different things. And then he's another team guy. There's a lot of team guys who I was able to build relationships, guys who are Christian, guys who are not Christian, who to this day, they play pivotal roles in my life, and holding me accountable and teaching me how to fight spiritually and guiding me.
Wow.
I just want to expand on that a little bit more. And there's a quote here that you had said, I've always felt I've needed to be the one to make things happen in my life. It's hard for me to trust people or to trust something outside of me. Now, you just mentioned those guys. You obviously trusted them. You took on board what they were putting out. What was different? I mean, how did you form those relationships now in faith, whereas prior to that, you had not found anyone, apparently, that you would trust at that level? What was different about those guys? What were they doing specifically that opened you up to that?
Just the brotherhood, for the most part. It just goes back to the brotherhood, just knowing that these are guys who I've gone to war with, who I've deployed with. Most of these guys are guys who, who I went through buds with. These are guys who, we went through the fire together. And so that's what it was for me. Like, to them, when it comes to team guys, there's an instantaneous trust unless you do something to break my trust.
Right.
Because I know that you come from the same background as I come from. You have the same, moral standard for the most part as I do. So that's why it was easy for me with those guys, even before I came to faith. But anybody else, it's really hard for me to trust. It's really hard for me. It takes time for me you have to earn my trust. Whereas team guys, you automatically have my trust.
Well, we're all baptized by the same water and the same fire, right?
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Well put.
Most guys don't like to admit to it, except for the guys in our community. I mean, we obviously tell everybody that we migrate to. I call them pillars, right? Those guys in our life that you kind of bump into, and you don't know why. People are like, why do you hang out with him? I don't know, man. I don't know why I hang out with him. Right? Because it doesn't have anything with looks or anything like that. And in the beginning, it doesn't have anything to do with faith. You probably don't even know that, right? There's some other reason completely. And then the more time you spend together, then you get in that situation where, you know how it is, man. We go through levels, and then at the bottom level, when we're in it, like when we get activated, the next level is death, right? When we're playing hard in the box, that's it. So that's why that comes up all the time. By design, like I said, they rip everything we are away from us, and then when we walk out of there, that's why we watch so many movies. We get that's our identity, right? Movie quotes and crazy lines and that's what people who aren't in the community but pretend to be inside the military, they don't miss the hidden language, right? The little quips and quotes and places that where you can literally have a conversation with each other for hours and an outsider wouldn't have any idea what's going on. And then the more you go through and more you see, because it's stripped away from us, it's that instinct, that sixth sense. That's what we've developed. That's what gets bred out of us the more social we get. Absolutely. That's it.
Well, it's funny. Marcus and I, we talk about this a lot. We talk about, we had to walk the path, right? We walked a certain path, and then that path was done. And in the next aspect of our lives, which is even a more profound path, because now we're carrying much heavier responsibilities of influence, right? It's easy to point a gun at a person and force them to do what you want, but it's hard to throw a piece of faith or a piece of positivity or whatever, however you'd want to describe it as a person, and really become good at wielding that weapon, right?
Well, it's a homeostasis. Think about it, the yin and yang, every religion, it's always the love of the opposite, the spin, right? So if we've literally walked on that first side as long as we did, and now on this side, that's that feeling, right? That's how you know you're completed. Yeah, I have the ability to do that, but now I have the it was discipline in that area, I think, right? And then that's when the patience and the perspective comes on. And you're like, yep, you know what? I absolutely could go back to that, but I figured out a way to get it. We could talk through this, and it's just a level of calm and peace that comes in with
love. I mean, it's ability. Love. Yeah, and how are you going to wield the weapon of love? So my question, Remi, you know, we laugh. You talk about
that's what I was. Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you.
I was going somewhere.
Here we are. I got you.
I was finishing out in my head.
I got you.
That's where I was going with that.
Okay. So Remi, you know, you come from this brotherhood of warriors, man, where guns are the weapons we use. But now, man, you're out in a whole nother world. I watched, you know, I paid attention to your trip to Africa. You know, you're out there. You're in now making movies. Your exposure's growing. What is your main objective now? What is your mission in life now?
Wow, that's a big one. I would say, and this might sound cheesy, but just using my platform to inspire people. I think that's, and whatever that platform may look like. So, you know, whether it's through writing, whether it's through storytelling, working on film, whether it's through speaking, it's just using whatever platform that's in front of me at the moment to bring inspiration, to bring truth. To bring the reality that there is a way when it seems like there is no way, to get people to stop feeling sorry for themselves and saying, well, I can't accomplish this because of the way I grew up, because of this background or that, is just motivating and inspiring people. That's my main objective. But yeah, I've been blessed with a few avenues to be able to do that. I work part-time with an organization called Operation Underground Railroad, where we go into bad situations to rescue kids who are trapped in human and sex slavery. You guys know Tim Ballard. You guys have had him on before.
Yeah, amen to you on that, Remi.
Funny when we get out, we all find the same fraternities to poke around in.
Tim is one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life, by far.
Yeah, he's a solid dude, man. Solid dude. And so I do that. And then obviously my book, my mom, when we were kids, she knew how bad the public school system was in the Bronx. So she was a teacher, and she would make my brother and I write long reports when we were a kid, and we hated it, dude. We hated it so much. But what that kind of gave me was it gave me the principle. So I've been writing for like 20, 25 years. So I wrote my book, obviously, and that's going to be coming out. I didn't have a co-writer or anything. Wow. And then, you know, I'm writing a film as well now, and just, you know, I write other stuff in my off time. I'm into poetry and other things like that. But that's
the samurai, right?
Yeah.
The sword. Then
brother, dude.
I didn't do the poetry. I'm not that clever. But so I'm definitely doing the gardening thing. I got the gardening thing down.
That's right, man.
That's the type of poetry.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we're on that topic. What is I Am Second?
I Am Second is a media ministry where people share their stories. They share their stories as to why they are second in life. They're stories that are told in a very raw way. They're not preachy in any way. It's just, you know, whether it was drug abuse, whether it was alcoholism, whether it was fatherlessness, whatever the topic is just sharing it in a raw and authentic way, and then talking about how Christ came into their life towards the end, and how he was the X factor and them getting over whatever struggle that they face. It's I've worked with I Am Second since 2010, and while I was still in, and they're an awesome media ministry.
Well, it's an interesting bank of videos he has on there that people from a wide variety of backgrounds and high quality stuff in those stories. It's impressive. It's nice work.
The first one I ever saw was
slam poetry.
No, it's about people telling they're coming to Christ. Like Willie's dad's on there. That was the first giant one that really got exposure.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was incredible. And no, I've been a fan of them since I first saw, you know, Willie's dad on there. I mean, that was massive for me. So I loved your video on there. I recommend everybody who listens to this goes there and watches it. It's really amazing. All right, let's shift a little bit. We always like to kind of wrap up with the fact that, you know, we want our listeners to take something away, right? To have some tangible something when, you know, when this podcast ends, that they can say, Remi said to do this. So what is something or a couple of things that you think about that are essential in people's daily fights?
Yeah. Well, one, I would say I would look at failure and just reflect on my life. I had so many setbacks and failures in my life. I went through Buds twice. I got dropped in second phase the first time I was in Buds and went to the fleet and came back. And, when you look at my family life and all of these other different things, I've had a lot of setbacks. But what I take from that is that, a failure is not a failure if you learn from it. If you learn from it, it's a lesson. And so I think that one of the reasons why I am successful in the areas that I am now is because I've learned how to take all of my failures and even catalog my failures that I still have to this day and just figure out a way to kind of turn those failures into lessons.
Wow.
I had a recent failure on set Friday, and it sucked. I'm gonna be honest with you, it sucked. It was a kick in the nuts, and I beat myself up about it for 24 hours. After that, I took notes, mental notes, and I was like, that will never, ever, ever, ever happen again ever in my life.
What happened, Remi?
And so that's something I tell people.
What happened?
I won't go into it.
It's that kind of lesson. All right.
If the scene makes it in the movie, then I'll tell you afterwards.
Awesome.
All right. Man, I've been explaining it like that too. Basically, when we graduate out of school, well, there are no written exams anymore, right? The written exams are the hard times we run into in life. And if you fail that test, the greatest part about it is just what you said, man. Did you learn the lesson? So if you did, then you didn't fail the test because it's not graded like that in life, just in school kind of deal. So it's not the hard times are the tests, the written exams you used to take in high school, man. Just stand by because it makes you pay attention or let you know if you were paying attention during the good times when you were supposed to be, right? And if you're not, they'll strap a hard time on you just to make sure you go back and really pay attention.
Absolutely. All right. So learn from the lessons. Now, can you please tell our listeners where they can, when the book is coming out, where they can go to pre-order it, and then where they can follow you on social media, your website, and then what you got in the future?
Yeah, so the book comes out January 22nd, 2019. I'm still dealing with the DOD approving it, which is crazy because I turned it in May. But yeah, you can go to transformstory.com. That's the website for the book. And that's where you can pre-order as well. We're going to be releasing exclusive video content starting November 6th for the book if you pre-order, and for those who don't pre-order. So yeah, that's I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. The title is Transformed. And then I can be found on all social media platforms from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Remi Adeleke, REMI, and then Adeleke, ADELEKE. You could rewind this and play in the slow motion to get the proper spelling. I'm just keeping busy. I'm working on a film right now here in Italy, as you guys know. It's a Michael Bay film, great project. Working with some great people out here. I'm writing a film that I'm talking to different production companies now and about option and rights to my screenplay. It's a fiction film. And then yeah, man, I got a Kingdom Men event that's going to be coming up, and a bunch of other men events and stuff that I'll be doing with Life of Valor. So yeah, those are some of the few media things on the top of my head that I can think of.
That was awesome. Epic story. I mean, it's like we were talking about earlier. It's a Coming to America, Bronx Tale, Navy SEAL movie. Yeah. I mean,
What I want to say to you is, one of the great fears and the stuff that I still deal with is just the fear of my how strong is my faith and taking the platforms that I do have, that I, whether it's speaking or this show or whatever, and making sure my faith is up front and center with it, and watching you and what you do, Remi. You're a real inspiration to me. And I'm just so proud that I can wear a trident next to you, because you are certainly a special human being and a true warrior of Christ. And just want to thank you for that, as well as coming on the show.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate you. Thank you, Wizard. It's been a blessing. I appreciate what you guys do and how you guys are using this platform to just breed inspiration and pass it on, because it's, as you guys know, we're living in some divisive times, and a lot of people are feeling down. So to be able to get the messages from you guys and bless the people is powerful.
Amen.
So
it's been an honor talking to you.
Yeah, it's been an honor. God bless you, Remi, and good luck on the film. And when in the future, when your book's an international bestseller and you win an Academy Award, we want to have you back on, okay?
Absolutely. All right, my brothers. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, God bless you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Marcus Wizard, David.
Take care.
Marcus, that dude is exceptional, man. I'm telling you what, when you hear his story, and I love the way you referenced it in the series of movies, right?
It is all right.
Yeah, Coming to America, The Bronx Tale. You know, I mean, he just Navy SEAL. Dude, I love that, but he's the real deal. I mean, I just can't get over the fact, you know, one, the how few young kids make it out of that lifestyle, right? Then two, you know, not only how few people make it through the SEAL teams, and you combine those two statistical challenges, and what you have with Remi is a perpetual outlier, right? Now, in my mind, because of his faith, you add that on top of it, and this guy is walking a plane of existence that is transcendental in every way.
We kept saying that part was when he was moving out that it nagged on him because he was quitting. Well, growing up and quitting are two different things.
Totally.
You grow out of something. Good on you for recognizing that and saying it's time. And it's those markers that keep throwing in your face like you're getting in trouble in certain areas. It's like, man, this is all I got in this area is just finding trouble. I need to go find something somewhere else. And in that world, I mean, you know, it is dependent. You grow up in the country, go in the city. It's all it can. Both of those can encapsulate you and keep you home all the time.
Right.
Keep you running on that in the kind of that one line. And if it just takes that 1 second to think to yourself, I mean, if everybody else had a chance to go out and do it, and there's people that I think have it harder than me that have gone out and done good things just by switching gears and switching directions. And that's all it is. It's just taking that one step, go in that direction, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you come back where you came from.
Right?
What do you got to lose?
Well, I love the comment that, you know, you and he both made, and I like the sense of the root, right? And I think that's where Remi really is coming from. What were his roots? And that's what his mom kept saying to him.
Yeah,
Do you know who your father was? Do you know who he was, what he was? You need to become that type of man. And I got to tell you, you know, I again, like in Andy Stump or any one of these other people, you know, Chris Cassidy, you know, we have these people that you hear their pursuit of excellence, and you're like, my God, that's impressive and makes me want to do more. Remi's one of those guys.
From the severe on most every part of his life.
Right.
And shifted and been successful and shifted into something else. That was one of them guys you want to follow around.
Totally. And I think with the advancement of his book, Transformed, and I highly recommend everybody get that. It's going to be a phenomenal book, I bet. You know, you're going to see his presence and his influence really expand. And what I'd love to see him do is to go back to the inner city, to go back to the Bronx, right? And really dig into that community and start a ministry there of sorts, right? Teaching these young men how to be men, how to have the confidence and conviction to quit on that lifestyle and to start their pathway towards salvation too.
Well, and in simply being that role model that he himself spent so much of his life looking for, he's doing that. And like you just said, he's involved in Life of Valor, which is the faith organization that goes out there and and acts as a sort of a guidepost, as a role model for youth coming up. So he is involved in that to a degree there.
Yeah, sure. Him and Bramstead, Jeff Bramstead. If you want to learn more about it, go ahead and visit their website. Just type in Life of Valor, Navy SEALs. They'll both come out. They've got some great videos. They just had a big, huge event out there where they were in a giant stadium and had some wonderful men contribute to that and that effort. I highly recommend you check that out. Well, listen, man, if this is your first show, wow. I mean,
that's a big one.
You want to talk never quit. I mean, Remi is the epitome of that. And we're just so happy that you've joined us, you found us. Welcome to the team. If you're coming back for more and you can't get enough, thank you for all of your support. Marcus Wizard and I, we are eternally in your debt for the support that you give us on a regular basis because the show just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Heck, man, we've almost doubled in size over the past couple months.
We have doubled.
And we have doubled in size. We're closing in on 7 million downloads. And we're getting ready to really just make this thing explode around the country, and because it is our mission, and we have a true belief that everybody has some type of never quit mentality inside them. They've all experienced some type of never quit story. And, we just feel that, it's our job, it's our calling to bring these great stories to the American public and hell, and to the world public, baby. So if you want to know more about us and our mission, please visit us at tnqpodcast.com. That's our website where you can go and check out, hundreds of Never Quit stories from our team, Never Quit community that have contributed there, who have written in their stories. And if you feel courage, we'd love it if you shared your story or the story of your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, a friend. We don't care. Please share the stories. And if they're awesome, we'll read them at the end of the show. And if they're incredible, Marcus,
coming on,
we will bring you on. We've actually brought 3 people on the show from the stories they've written. And hell, we had one story where the Sun wrote in and we had them come on, Jeff Cool. Unbelievable
Just
story recently. And so that's what will happen. If you want to follow us, you can follow us, all 3 of us. You can follow Marcus at Marcus Luttrell, me at Team Frog Logic, and Wizard at the Wizard TNQ. Where I love the posts you keep doing, brother. I hope you keep those up. And as random, as bizarre as they are, but I think, they're awesome. But we do have a listener write-in story to end the show today. So what do you say, boys? All right. This is from Gilvey. My father was sick my entire childhood, and this is his never quit story. My father was born the 3rd child of your cliche baby boom era family in the 1950s. You could say growing up in your typical lower class family in the Midwest in the 60s is more than enough to earn the spot of a person's greatest never quit story. Unfortunately, his story takes us to 1994, a year before I was born, and only 11 years after he had lost his father to the same deadly disease he was about to find out was now to take hold of his body. Lung cancer is one of the most deadly types of cancer there is, and he now had to start the long process of overcoming it. He was given 6 months to live, and his doctor had given him the advice of finding a comfortable bar stool and an endless bottle. But my father was determined that this was not how he would go out. With that being said, the first thought was operation, and so he went from a person with 2 lungs to a person with 1, and was now physically disabled for the rest of his life. The story wasn't getting darker at this point, though, and after he had achieved remission, my mother and he decided it was time to bring me into this world. Coincidentally, the day my mother found out she was pregnant with me was the day my father found out that the cancer had returned for a second time in the so-called healthy lung that remained. At this point, it was time to go after the disease for a second time, with even more on the line. The chemo and radiation treatments were started right away, and once again the battle was won, with the cancer going back into remission. I was born in September of 1995, in the middle of the second cancer, and so from the time of my birth, all I had ever known was him being sick. Tragedy struck yet again in 1996 when the cancer returned for the third time in the one lung he had left. This resulted in another surgery, which left him with 1/3 of a lung when only 2 years prior he had 2 healthy ones. He was told he would have maybe 1 to 4 years left and that he would not be able to exercise and that he would have to live now with supplemental oxygen for the rest of his life. Much to the surprise of his doctors and his family, he lived on for another 13 years by not giving up and fighting day by day to stay alive, not only for the 11-year-old boy he had in his life, but also his loving wife who had been with him through this entire process. He passed away in February of 2007. I see this story as my father's greatest never quit story because he fought through not only 1 or 2, but 3 different lung cancers to stay here for his family 13 years longer than expected. He trained himself to breathe without supplemental oxygen, was able to walk short distances, and was not confined to a wheelchair in order to get from place to place. He always said through all the darkness came the greatest thing in his life when I was born. His doctors and nurses called me his miracle baby. This man was my hero and the greatest warrior I had ever known. He was the most loving and caring father I think anyone could ever have. I only knew him for the first 11 years of my life, but those were so important. They have sculpted me into the man I am today, and I truly believe that he is always with me. I know his story is very sad to most people that hear it, and most people say I was robbed of a childhood because of his health. In all honesty, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Yes, I may not have been able to have the cliche, let's go play catch out in the front yard, father-son relationship, but what I did have was a very, very, very loving father and a person who really understood how valuable life is. I saw his never quit story happen, and even though he isn't here to tell it himself, I know he never quit all the way to the end. Listening to your podcasts, I've heard many inspiring stories. I've wanted to tell you his and figured it was time. Thank you for everything all 3 of you have done, and please, 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 never let this podcast fade away because it's truly a diamond in the rough. God bless you guys. Gilvy, brother, God bless your father.
Right?
I mean, what a powerful impact that he had on a time in you, which was probably the most important, your child development years. And I can only imagine not being able to understand it while you were going through it, but my brother, the way you shared that story was about as perfect could be. And your father's an inspiration to all those people out there who are struggling with any type of cancer, much less me as just a father of 4 right now, and really inspiring me to make the most of every minute I have with them. So thank you, sir, for writing in. I also want to thank Remi because, brother, you are a total inspiration to me. What you're doing in your life is powerful. I know you're walking with God. I know you're walking that apostolic way. I know you're a truth seeker, and I know you're determined to have a profound impact not only on your 3 sons, but also all those you come in contact with. Thank you, God. Thank you, Christ. Thank you, Jonna. I want to thank my family. I want to thank my father, Charlie. Man, what a powerful impact you've had on my life and in what I do for a living, trying to help people. So thank you, sir. And thank you, gents. I just can't thank you enough for being able to do this with you. I mean, this is really the greatest blessing I think I've ever had in my life. So thanks.
Yeah, man.
That guy, well, he was a good example of what a good father's hanging in there and to the very end. Also, is a prime example of what you should do every day of your life. Because as you grow up, man, you're going to hit those hard times. It may not be a sickness like your dad had, but he definitely taught you that no matter how bad it is, even if you're down to two lobes in a lung,
1/3,
right? Push forward. So remember that. And then when it's time for you to be a dad, you pass that down. Make sure that's something valuable that he gave you through his sacrifice. And to everybody who keeps bringing us back, I don't have the words to thank you enough. You guys are amazing. Wife, thanks for letting us do it. And to the good Lord upstairs, keep bringing us back together and letting us do this, man. And you guys keep coming back, and then we'll keep talking. So I'm out.
Out.
Never quit. Team Never Quit Radio.